Did Nafisia Collier and her husband, and I understand this is speculation, I'm asking a question out loud, but did they promise Caitlin Clark was going to play in this league to a lot of investors and to TNT Sports and then didn't deliver? Was that part of this? I can't help because I can't figure out, outside of the league being a virtue signal.
Did someone promise investors that Caitlin Clark would play in this league? That's the question being asked out loud right now, and it's not coming from random fans on Twitter. This is serious money asking serious questions about how Unrivaled got funded in the first place. Because when you look at the numbers, when you examine the complete lack of precedent for a women's 3x3 basketball league to succeed, something doesn't add up about why so many investors wrote checks.
In the start of its second season, viewership has fell off a cliff. We knew it was going to be bad. I got to admit, didn't know it was going to be this bad. I mean, they have actually exceeded my bad expectations, which is, I couldn't have been much lower. I mean, on the farm animal totem pole of expectations, I was somewhere down around pond scum. All right? And well, it's worse. What's lower than pond scum exactly?
100,000 viewers. That's what Unrivaled is pulling in its second season. For context, reruns of The Big Bang Theory on the same network draw 8 times that number. Friends reruns would triple it without even trying. TNT is airing live sports with professional announcers, production crews, and marketing budgets. And they're getting destroyed by 30-year-old sitcom episodes that cost them nothing to air. But here's what makes this particularly devastating. The league was built on a specific promise to WNBA players. You don't have to go overseas anymore. We'll pay you to stay home during the off-season. Except that was apparently a lie, because the moment Project B started offering real money in Europe, players packed their bags faster than you can say revenue sharing.
Alyssa Thomas just come right out and said, no, we ain't got no problems going overseas playing ball. As soon as Project B showed up and started paying real money, boy, they decided to pack their bags real fast.
Olivia Wilson just came out and said it directly. No problems going overseas. None. The entire premise of Unrivaled, the foundational argument for why this league needed to exist, just evaporated. And that tells you something important about how this league was sold versus what it actually is. Nafisia Collier and Brianna Stewart founded this league. They're the faces of it. The owners. The ones who supposedly convinced investors this was viable. But Collier just had surgery and missed her own league's crucial second season launch. Think about that. The co-founder decided her surgery timing was more important than being present for the league she created. What does that tell you about how seriously even the owners take this venture?
That was like, oh, this is interesting. So let me scroll down. This is about the ratings. Oh, man. I hate these browsers. There's a baseline level of uncertainty Unrivaled faces at the current moment. The league is partly owned by TNT, whose parent company is Warner Brothers Discovery. And I've talked about this before. It's in the midst of a messy sale process as Netflix and Paramount vie for the right to buy the company. Now, rumor has had it that...
Now we need to talk about the business structure, because this is where things get really interesting. Unrivaled is partly owned by TNT, whose parent company, Warner Brothers Discovery, is currently in the middle of a messy sale process. Netflix and Paramount are both bidding to buy the company. Games right now stream on HBO Max, but if this sale goes through, that streaming option likely disappears. Would Unrivaled find another platform? Probably. But when you're already hemorrhaging viewers and your media partner is getting sold, that's not exactly a stable foundation. And here's the kicker. According to reports, Unrivaled has a 6-year media rights deal with TNT, but TNT can opt out after 3 years if the league fails to gain traction. 3 years, they're already in year 2, and the ratings have fallen off a cliff. Do the math.
Especially under new ownership, and they're talking about new ownership of Warner Brothers Discovery. And of course, this is one of the big problems. Paige Beckers and carrying the heavy load for Unrivaled as their biggest stars. Oh boy, that ain't going to get it done. That's not going to get it done. Paige Becker's, we have a face. This proves all of us right. Paige Becker's moving no needles, 0 needles. Her fan base can cancel that. You know what? Want to know one thing I can confidently say? Angel Reese moves more needles than Paige Becker.
Paige Beckers and Cameron Brink are carrying the promotional load as Unrivaled's biggest stars. And this is the proof, the concrete evidence, that settles a debate that's been raging in WNBA circles for 2 years. Paige Beckers moves 0 needles, none. Her fan base can cancel culture anyone they want on social media. But when it comes to actual viewership, actual people tuning in to watch basketball, the numbers don't lie. Angel Reese, for all the controversy around her, demonstrably moves more needles than Paige. You can see it in the Unrivaled ratings. Last season, when Reese was playing, viewership was higher, not astronomically higher. We're talking maybe 140,000 versus 100,000, but that 30 to 40,000 viewer difference matters when your entire audience fits inside a mid-sized college football stadium.
And of course, this is all important because they've tried to use this league as leverage against the WNBA, the owners and NBA owners and CBA negotiations. Officially, that leverage is disintegrated. It's gone. In fact, I would venture to say WNBA ownership, NBA ownership are laughing right now. They're smirking. Adam Silver's smirking. They're smiling because they know no leg to stand on. And again, I have to wonder out loud, did investors get sold a bad bill of goods?
This league was supposed to be leverage. That was the whole point from a business strategy perspective. WNBA players are in CBA negotiations right now with NBA ownership, and Unrivaled was supposed to be the alternative. The threat they could wave around, pay us what we're worth, or we'll just play in our own league. Except that leverage just disintegrated. It's gone. Completely evaporated. NBA owners are looking at these Unrivaled ratings and smirking. Adam Silver is smiling because they know these players have nowhere else to go. The bluff got called, and it turns out there was nothing behind it. You want to talk about negotiating position? The WNBA players just lost theirs. When your backup plan is pulling 100,000 viewers and losing money hand over fist, you don't have leverage. You have a cautionary tale.
I'm asking a question out loud. I'm wondering aloud. And I'm able to do that. But that's oh boy, that's a bad sign. TNT can opt out. Well, what do you think they're going to do if they keep going down this road? You know, when reruns of Big Bang Theory would do 8.
TNT can opt out. They can look at these ratings, look at their quarterly earnings, and just say, we're done. Peace out. No next season, no year 3, just a clean exit from a failed experiment. And when that happens, when TNT walks away, what exactly is the plan? Because right now, Unrivaled is burning through investor money with no path to profitability, no growing audience, and no media partner committed beyond the opt-out clause.
I got to thinking about something. Let me peel back the curtain. I can remember when the news on this league broke, all right? We found out about this league. Matrix sent me a link to the news that there would be a new women's 3x3 basketball league. We both overwhelmingly in the moment said, well, that's going to be a failure. Immediately. I mean, as soon as we saw it, we was like, because at the time, the WNBA's ratings, they didn't have the Caitlin Clark situation going on as of yet. And it was like, nobody's watching the WNBA. Who's going to watch 3x3 basketball with women playing in it? Nothing against women playing basketball, but look, the history wasn't there for support for a league like this to have been.
Let's go back to the beginning, because the origin story of this league matters. When Unrivaled was first announced, the immediate reaction from anyone paying attention to women's basketball was, this is going to fail. Not from haters, not from people who want women's sports to fail, but from people who actually understand the economics and viewership patterns of women's basketball. The WNBA itself was trolling with ratings before Caitlin Clark arrived. The league had been losing money for decades, subsidized entirely by the NBA. And someone looked at that landscape and thought, you know what this ecosystem needs? A 3x3 league with no established fan base, no media presence, and no proven demand. The business case never existed. There was no precedent for success, no market research suggesting fans wanted this, no grassroots movement demanding 3x3 women's basketball during the WNBA offseason. So why did investors fund it? That's the question that keeps coming back. Why did serious people with serious money look at this proposal and say yes? Which brings us back to the Caitlin Clark question. Did Nafisa Collier and Brianna Stewart, directly or through intermediaries, suggest to investors that Caitlin Clark would participate? Did they hint that the biggest star in women's basketball, the one player who actually moves ratings, would be the face of this league? Because if they did, and if investors wrote checks based on that expectation, and then Caitlin said no, that's not just a business miscalculation. That's a fundamental misrepresentation of what was being sold. We don't have proof of this. Nobody's gone on record saying, yes, we were promised Caitlin Clark. But the question hangs in the air because nothing else makes sense. Why else would you invest millions in a league with no proven market, no media strategy, and no competitive advantage over simply paying WNBA players more money to play overseas? The Caitlin Clark theory is the only explanation that makes the investment thesis coherent. If you believe the biggest star in women's basketball is going to be your centerpiece, then suddenly, the risk looks manageable. You're not betting on 3x3 basketball as a concept, you're betting on Caitlin Clark's ability to bring her audience anywhere she goes. But she never committed. She never even seriously considered it. Based on everything we know, she took the WNBA offseason to rest, recover, and avoid the exact kind of overexposure that Unrivaled represents. And now investors are watching their money evaporate, while Paige Buchers and Cameron Brink try to carry a league that was never built for them to carry. Here's what happens next. TNT exercises that opt-out clause after year 3, assuming the league even makes it that far. Unrivaled either folds completely or limps along as a niche product with minimal viewership and no media partner. The players who left WNBA teams to participate full-time end up back in the league they tried to use as leverage, except now with less negotiating power than before. The investors who funded this take a loss and move on. Some of them might quietly ask questions about what exactly they were sold and whether the business plan they funded bore any resemblance to reality. But most will just write it off as a failed bet on women's sports and become more skeptical the next time someone pitches them a women's basketball venture. And that's the real tragedy here. Because when Unrivaled fails, it doesn't just hurt the league itself. It hurts the next legitimate women's basketball idea that needs funding. It makes investors more cautious, more skeptical, more likely to say no. The WNBA players who founded this league thought they were creating leverage and opportunity. Instead, they might have just made it harder for women's basketball to attract serious investment in the future. Because Unrivaled isn't failing quietly, it's failing publicly, embarrassingly, with ratings so low that sitcom reruns are beating live. Ojo Wilson was right to keep playing overseas. The players who chose Europe over Unrivaled made the smart business decision. Because at least in Europe, the leagues are established, the money is real. And nobody's pretending that 3x3 basketball is going to revolutionize women's. So as Caitlin Clark promised to investors, we may never know for sure. But if she wasn't, then someone needs to explain what the investment thesis actually was. Because from the outside looking at these numbers, looking at this trajectory, there's no rational explanation for why Unrivaled exists. The league is done. The only question now is how long it takes everyone involved to admit it. What do you think? Were investors sold a bill of goods with Caitlin Clark's name attached? Or is there some other explanation for why serious money funded a league with no market and no precedent? Drop your take in the comments, hit subscribe for more WNBA analysis, and let's see if Unrivaled makes it to year 3 or if TNT pulls the plug.